Hello everyone. In today's session, we are going to learn forms inside the Bootstrap. Bootstrap provides lots of classes in order to design your form. Without the Bootstrap, as you know, we can design a form with the basic HTML elements. Let's see an example. For example, I am creating one form without the help of Bootstrap. I am creating one label, enter first name. And I'm creating one input type equal to text, and I'm providing a ID to that particular input to be first name, and I'm specifying this particular label is for that particular input. Similarly, I'm going to create a form, enter last name, and that is for the last name, and the ID is also last. Okay, so we have first name, last name. Similarly, we are going to create first form, enter date of birth, and date of birth over here. And we are going to specify one input type equal to submit, and value for that click or submit, simple submit, right? So we have created one form without using Bootstrap, which consists of one label input, label input, label input, and input, right? So all are these basic HTML elements, and when I run this particular file, you can see it will create output something like this. It is very basic HTML form. So if I want to redesign it with the help of Bootstrap, what I can do is I can use some classes which were provided by the Bootstrap, right? And those classes are very simple to use. What you need to do is you just need to specify your input some classes. For example, in our case, I'm specifying one class form dash control, which was written inside our Bootstrap, so we need not to write the definition for them, and I can use this class directly. I'm specifying form dash control to our input as well as this input, and this input. For example, I'm specifying one again label for the address, enter address. I'm specifying for address, and I'm writing one text area with the ID address. Same, I will specify class form dash control to that text area as well. For example, we are creating a student form and we are specifying a select department, and I am specifying one drop down select. We are providing certain options like C department, mechanical engineering department, civil engineering department, something like that, and we are also specifying certain ID to them, ID to be DPT and for DPT. So we have created a very basic HTML form, but now what we are doing is we are specifying certain class form dash control to each of our controls, and when I run this particular file, you can see the form will become even better. To display it even better, what we can do is we can wrap our form inside one division. I'm wrapping our form, and that division I'm specifying certain class. That class is container. So what I have done is I have created one form and I have put that entire form inside one division and specifying certain class, and that class is container. This particular class we are going to learn in detail when we are going to learn grid system inside the Bootstrap. So when I just specify the class, it will become a fixed width website, right? When I specify anything inside the container, it will be of the fixed width, so it won't be like of 100% width, so it will look nicer. But you can see there is no margin in between these elements. So if you want certain margins in between those elements, you can use one more class which was provided by the Bootstrap. What you need to do is you need to wrap your inputs in between a div, or first label and first input inside a div, and specify class form dash group. So what we are doing is we are grouping the inputs so that there will be a specific margin in between those inputs, right? Same, I am copying the code for each inputs. Sorry. And again a form group for our button, right? So when I wrap our inputs inside form group division, you can see there will be certain margin in each of our inputs, so form would be look nicer. As we have learned about the buttons, we can use button classes for the our buttons. For example, here I have specified btn dash primary, so our button will be of primary color. If, like for example, I want a red color, as we know, we already have learned this, so it will be of red color. There are info like success and all these colors we can use with the button, so our form will look nicer with the help of just two classes. One is form dash control and second is form dash group, right? So this is how Bootstrap forms works. But here you can see that form dash control class will work with only three types of elements. First is input, second is select, and third is text area. As you can know, here I have only used these particular elements: input, select, and text area. It will work with these three only. So for example, I want to put one radio button for gender. So what I am going to do is same, I am going to do form dash group. Here I am going to create a label. First in a radio button, we are going to specify a button first. So input type equal to radio and id equal to male. I'm going to specify label over here, label male, and for we are going to specify here male. Similarly, I'm going to specify here for the female and female, right? So we have created one radio buttons, and when I refresh this page, there will be a radio buttons over here. If I want to design those radio button in a Bootstrap, I cannot use those form control class over there. I need to use something else. Similarly, for example, I'm going to put input type equal to file class form dash group. Here I'm going to put input type equal to file select image img over here, and input type equal to file. But if I use our form dash control with image or input type equal to file, it will look something like this, which is not like doesn't look good, because that will be covered inside our input type form dash control class. So for file, they have different class. It won't work with form dash control. For that, you need to write form dash control dash file. You need to use this particular class if you want to use form dash image. If you want to use input type equal to file, you should use form dash control dash file class, and when you run this file, it will look good. So there are certain different classes for different kind of inputs. We are going to learn those classes. So sizing. Now if you want a certain form element to be larger, you can use form dash control dash lg. For example, enter first name. I'm going to use form dash control dash lg at the end. So when I run the page, you can see it will be larger than the other. I think I changed something. Okay. Then again form dash control dash lg. Form control should be there. I'm going to use one more class, form dash control dash lg. So it will be larger. You can see the height of this particular element and this particular element. It is larger than this particular element. Similarly, if you want smaller, you can use sm. right? You can specify sizing with the inputs. You can specify read only. For example, certain date of birth user cannot change, so I can simply use read only attribute inside my input, and Bootstrap will design it for you. Here you cannot write anything, it is only for read purpose, right? Similarly, there are different kinds of for example, read only plain text. If you want a range input, you can specify form dash control dash range. It will be displayed something like this. The range will be there, right? For the checkboxes and radio buttons, as we have put it over here, male and female, you need to use certain classes, different classes, right? The first class is form dash check dash input. For your inputs, you need to specify a class form dash check dash input, and for your labels, you need to specify form dash check dash label. Here I need to specify form dash check dash label, but you even need to wrap this particular input and label inside one div, and need to specify class to that, and that class is form dash check. You need to specify class over here, form dash check. Similar with this input, you can also specify, right? So in checkbox and radio buttons, you need to specify class form dash check dash input for both. Like there is no class form dash radio dash input. For radio as well as checkbox, there is the same class form dash check dash input and form dash check dash label. If you want inline, for example, here, if I am going to do the same with these also, and when I run this file, you can see there is a I think we haven't specified this here. Okay, so both are not inline. If you want inline checkboxes, something like this, you can use one class form dash check dash inline when you specified your form dash check class. So if you specify form dash check dash inline class with it, it will be on the same line. It will be inline, right? So this is how we can design our forms inside the Bootstrap. For example, now we want to use grid. Okay, we are going to learn grids inside Bootstrap in detail. No need to worry for that as of now, but we can use grids inside our form, right? If I, for example, in our case, I want my first name and last name to be in the same row. I want them first name here and last name in the same line. So that it won't occupy my screen, right? So in order to do so, what you can do is I'm first going to remove this particular class, large class. Now I want that to be in the same row. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to write one class row div class row and put my elements inside that particular division. Enter first name and last name I'm putting inside a row, same row, and then I'm specifying one more class col with form group, right? Here also and here also. And when I run this file again, you can see enter first name is and last name both are on the same line. So it will occupy less amount of size from your screen, right? Similarly, you can design your form in different ways with the help of rows and col. We are going to learn that particular thing in detail, no need to worry. But if you want to design as of now, after completing this session only, you just need to use two class. One is a row and one is col column, right? You need to specify with your form dash group col, and you need to wrap. For example, if you want enter date of birth with your first row only, what you need to do is cut from here and paste here and just specify one class col with form group, and you can see there is date of birth is also in our first line. It will automatically adjust the width of other elements. It will be of equal size. You can also make it unequal size. For example, first name should be larger and last name and date of birth should be smaller. You can do that with the help of grid system that we are going to learn in detail. Now we can also specify certain validations to it. For example, I want, like, if the that particular is valid, I want certain arrow over there, or if it is invalid, I want something like this. This is just a basic designing, not a coding. Like, we are not going to check whether the value is valid or not. We just want to design it, right? I want to design certain thing. Then I can use certain classes, and those classes are very simple to use. The classes is valid, right? You just need to specify is valid class with your input. For example, enter first name. I'm just specifying one class over here, is valid class. And when you run your file, you can see the symbol over here and the green outline to that particular division, that is valid. And same class is for invalid, is invalid. And when I run this file again, you can see it will be designed like that is an invalid input. So forms inside the bootstrap is very easy to use, and you can explore even more after exploring this particular page. You can find this page from your official website, get started. Inside that components, and there is a link of forms. You can explore all the form properties in this particular page. Okay, thank you.